So to get started, I will quickly go over the agenda of what we will be covering in this presentation. First, I'll be talking about the business value of the system. Then I'll go into the system users. Next, the functionality, the analysis and design, demonstration of the system, what we're proud of, project retrospective, and then any questions if you guys have any. So now we'll talk about the business value of the system. First, we have the business value of the system we built. This system will allow Habitat for Humanity to reallocate their financial resources towards something else that will further support their mission. The previous system was a recurring $4,000 expense that will no longer need to be paid. This new system doesn't only help them cut costs. This Salesforce implementation will help increase their record-keeping capability and more accurately record and aggregate data. Salesforce will provide value by enhancing report functionality. This will give the Habitat team analytics and insights that were previously inaccessible. Now I will talk about the system users. The two users of the system that we interviewed during our class are Paul Farr, the marketing director, and Brad Turner, the outreach director. They carefully laid out the existing problems they had and a general idea of what our objective would be. Habitat needs a CRM to better serve the organization and their donors. They also want the ability to closely track constituents and classify them appropriately. Additionally, they mentioned the problems that they were currently facing with their existing system. The current process is inefficient and expensive. On top of that, they have difficulty classifying their constituents and merging duplicate data. Now I will pass it on to Joseph to talk about the functionality of our new system.
Thanks, Joe. So to prioritize our system's functionality, we had to look intensely at the in-class interview with both of our system users that Joe just mentioned. From that, we knew from the start that our system had to revolve around the idea of the constituents and donors within the system. The main focus was on the ability to gather this vast data of Habitat's donors and then manage, manipulate, and analyze it effectively. Tracking these donors was not only a priority, but a vital part of the organization's success. So on the next couple of slides, I have provided screenshots of some of the different functionalities within our system in Salesforce. This first screenshot demonstrates our system's ability to find matches and duplicates within our data. Here we have the managing of different organizations. And our last screenshot we have is one that shows one of the reports that we made so that we could designate different clients based on different categories. I know this is a brief explanation, but we go into more detail during the prototype demonstration later on. So the past few slides have focused on the functional requirements, but the last thing I want to talk about is some of the non-functional requirements that we were prioritizing throughout our project. Just to list a few. Just the usability, accessibility of our website, the performance of the actual system, so its ability to read and manipulate high volumes of data, more control to the admins, and requiring names and addresses for new donors. And I just want to briefly touch on what we were hoping to get out of this project if we had more time and available in more future sprints. We wanted to add a mapping function to designate different addresses. We also wanted to create and use formula fields to help manipulate the data and make it easier to track constituents. And overall, just work on the accessibility of the website. Right now we have that basic format, but we really wanted to get it so it was up and running and more user-friendly. So now I'm going to pass it on to Eric to talk about analysis and design.
Thanks, Joseph. Now we'll briefly explain our analysis and design process. In terms of analysis, which is what we had to understand what we would deliver. We collected and interpreted facts. To do this, we performed in-class interviews, and we communicated with the project owner as well as reading the project proposal in detail. By collecting and interpreting these facts, we were able to understand the previous system and identify the pain points. Based on our understanding of the previous system, we were able to define what the new system's inputs would be, who would be using the system, and ultimately the expected outputs. Throughout the course of the project, we created several artifacts to determine how we would design the system, as our understanding of system functionality developed throughout the design process. So did our artifacts. In order to understand how users would interact with the system, we created use case diagrams. And in order to understand what the system would look like, we created domain class diagrams. And now, here are some images of our analysis and design artifacts. These are screenshots of them. On the left is the use case diagram displaying at large how two Athens Habitat for Humanity users, the system admin, and the employee would interact with the system. And on the right is the domain class diagram as it was actually designed in the Salesforce system. And now we'll be showing you a video that demonstrates our prototype.
Hello, so I'm going to be giving the demo to our prototype in Salesforce. So really just to jump right in, the first thing that we really created was the basic website. So by doing this, we created the domain name through Salesforce, and we kind of messed with the different accessibilities and the different functions within our website just to get this basic foundation down. But from this, we decided to move kind of different directions. We decided to create the database for all of the incoming data. So through the schema builder, we were able to create the 4 entities that we had thought of, and kind of create the attributes and different relationships between them. So then when it was time to actually import the data, we were able to really utilize this database and really maximize the potential that we had for this data. Of course, we came to the realization that this was not really necessary, but nonetheless, we still imported the data and were able to kind of create these fields and relationships so we could then create the donors, filter through them based on company name, email, name, owner, and we just really wanted to do that through our schema builder and the data that was given to us. The next thing that we really wanted to do was to manage the donors. We had to kind of think about this and come to the best point of action in which we were to do this. And kind of what we settled on was adding different rankings to the donors based on their contributions and the opportunities. So as you can see here, we have created a dashboard. Here's the different opportunity names and the amounts that they have donated. We have all these interactive models in which you can research different things and filter through and really get what you're looking for, create different reports as we have done in our sprints. So that is just one of the things that we kind of settled on when coming to managing really the donors and our clients. Another thing that we thought was really important, when Habitat came into class and talked to us, they really emphasized the point that they were having this issue with duplicated and matching the different data. There were a lot of duplicates that were just popping up in the data. So what we wanted to do, we create these rules that would identify the duplicates in these different accounts, in the account, the contact, and the lead, as well as matching if there was the same name or same address or different things. So that is something that we did midway through our sprints. The next thing that we did was created donor reports based on designations. So we created these designations through the object builder that would designate a person based on if they were a minor or not, and also if they were deceased or not. So here's just one report for the designation. Obviously, this designation is not actually set to anything, but if you really wanted to, you could go through these different names, and we added their email, and designate if they were a minor, if they were deceased, or maybe both. So the last thing that I wanted to touch on was the website itself. So as we talked about at the beginning of the video, Because we worked so much on the internal aspects of Salesforce, we really weren't able to get to the actual website to the point that we really wanted to. So this kind of leads me to what we wanted to do in future sprints. If we were given more time and the ability to really be with each other in person, something we really wanted to focus on was making the website more user-friendly and more accessible for different users, creating accounts and making it a real up and running website rather than what we have here, which is just the template that says down for maintenance. So that is how I'm going to wrap up our demo. I hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to any questions you have.
And now I'm going to pass it off to Janoon.
Thank you. I think this project was a great experience for all of us. Everyone in the group are very much proud of the cooperation each of us had towards one another and the valuable insight we gained in response to completing the project. For me, I was especially proud of the level of teamwork and initiative everyone in the group displayed throughout the entire project. For Joe and Eric, learning more about Salesforce and its user interface was and will be valuable for years to come. Moving on to the project retrospective, managing this project did not go without its fair share of challenges. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, group meetings had to be done remotely, and sometimes we would deal with connectivity issues, and sometimes group members had to fulfill other obligations. What we could have done better as a group is become more transparent with our responsibilities and possibly create a less formal environment, one that anyone would feel comfortable talking to. However, despite our challenges, having a group of 7 became a strength in this situation because we had so many bright and diverse minds willing to lend a hand when necessary, regardless of delegated responsibilities. With that in mind, our quality of work did not change. This was mentioned in our contract, but everyone in our group worked just as diligently and as they should have before and after working remotely. And lastly, I'd like to mention that even when scheduling became an issue, our group members tried to be as flexible as possible. And that concludes our presentation. Thank you for listening, and I would like to move on to questions that you guys might have.